Hey guys, welcome back. All right, today we're gonna be talking about the snap tool. All right, and we're gonna see what that is and how can we use it. To snap stuff in the grid. If I, let me put it here. Increment. There you go. Just to snap it, correctly in the grid or whatever, or how to snap it in that, and like a vertice or an edge, and things like that. That that if you don't know how to do it, or if you do it in other software, this is going to be a way for you to show you how to do that. And I'm going to recommend for you to explore a little bit more, because we're not going to go too deep into this. So this is just going to be like an overview on how to do it. All right, so let's begin with the increment option here, or tool, or whatever you want to call it. All right, that one. And you see that I have absolute grid selected here. Let me deselect it for a second. And I'm going to move this right there. It's not in any intersection in the grid. And if I select it, remember, one thing. This little magnet right there, if it's off, means in order for you to snap it in the grid or snap it, you're going to have to press Control. If I select this one and press Control, it's going to do the snap. It's going to basically activate it temporarily. But if you click it, it's going to be activated constantly. This does not mean, like, for example, like, I don't recommend for you to have it on all the time. Otherwise, you're going to be snapping stuff once you move an object. That's going to be kind of messy, all right? There's a few options for you in which you will use that, a few instances where you will use this all the time active, and we're going to see it at the end of the video. So for now, let me just have it off for a second. And increment is, like I said, it's going to be on the grid, but let me show you that if I move this right now, it's not going to snap perfectly in any intersection in the grid. That's because this is off. If you have it on, look what's going to happen. Bam. It's going to snap right on those intersections. If you go to the top here, you see that it's not in any intersection, right? So it's going to happen the same thing. If I take it off, it's going to happen the same thing. See? So if I have it on, it's gonna snap right in those intersections. So it's a little bit, for you to be a little more precise. That's the case of snapping. All right, so let's move to vertices or vertex. If I select vertex here, and I have this options right here, and I'm gonna select active for now. And if I move it, I'm gonna duplicate it here. I'm gonna duplicate it right there. Let's say that I want to put this cube right on top of it. Okay, this one, bam, right there. I can press Ctrl-Shift-Tab, and I have the same menu. This menu right here is this one right there, right here. Same thing. Ctrl-Shift-Tab, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to select vertice because there is a vertex right there. And if I go here, you see the vertex right there, right? So I want to snap this one right onto that one right there. Ctrl-Shift-Tab. And I'm going to select active. And if I grab this one and I press Control, it's going to snap right into it. Just like that. And if I grab it and I press Control, it's going to snap right there. And right there. Okay? And that's because I have active selected. This object that is active and is using the pivot point, if I move it, it's going to snap. But if you have, let's say, closest, look what's going to happen here. I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to try to snap it there. It's not snapping in that one in particular. That one, just because, but it's actually snapping into that one right there. There you go. Or that one. It's the one that is closest to it, to any vertices that you have selected, that you have in the object. So whatever is closest, that's going to snap to. Or in this one right here. Or in that one. It's a little confusing sometimes, but you just need to do a little bit more practice. And edges is kind of the same thing. Just going to grab it, and you see that it's going to snap right into the, do you see how it changes positions here? It's because I have closest active. And if I put active here, doesn't matter, it's going to snap to any of the edges that I'm putting it on, like you see right here. So just have fun with it, practice a little bit. Face is basically what it's saying. It's going to snap to, like right now, it's using the pivot point to snap into any of the faces. And we're going to do a little bit more digging into that face, but in edit mode. But for now, let's keep going like that one. Let's jump into edge center. It's going to do the same thing that you're thinking right now. Edge center, in the center right there. See that? Snap, snap, snap. So this is actually super useful. So, yep. All right. So let's go to edit mode right now because, yeah, to show you a little bit more how it is working edit mode. So if you grab this one right here, and if you have, let me just select, duplicate it right there. There you go, something like that. And I'm going to select this vertex right there. And I'm like, all right, I want to put this one right here, and I'm just going to grab it with G. Or you can just have, you know, the moving tool. Select this right here and just snap it, Control and snap. And you see that it snapped perfectly right there, and Control and snap, it's going to be right there in the center. Or right over here, or right over there. Doesn't matter. But that's actually super, super useful. Or if you can just go here and you can like face or edge or whatever. We're gonna do face in a little bit, and just let me delete this one real quick. And I'm gonna duplicate this one, separate it. You don't need to, you know, concern too much about this one. Let me just do something over here. I'm gonna add a subdivision surface. I'm gonna add a few levels here. And when you're doing retopology, and you're gonna hear that maybe, you know, depending on what you're doing, you're probably gonna hear that around retopology. And retopology, we do that once. Let's say that you have a super high poly model like this one right here. And I'm gonna activate the wireframe and optimal display off. And let's say that you're like, oh man, this model has a lot of subdivision, so I'm gonna reduce it. And the way, you know, people do this is by creating another topology on top of the dense topology one. Let me just explain a little bit. So I'm gonna grab this plane right here, and I'm gonna project it on top of this. There's a modifier for this, it's called shrink wrap, but we're gonna see that later on. But for now, let's stick with this. And I'm gonna select here, face, project. And I'm gonna edit mode on this one. And if I press Ctrl right now, it's gonna snap right into it. Like, just like that. And I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna select one of the options of, let's go to project individual elements. Press G, and automatically you see that it's projecting every single vertex on top of that surface. You see the cube right, the plane right there? It's projected right there. I'm gonna just subdivide a little bit, press G, and move it around. You see that it's still projected on top of that object right there. Or you can just, you know, just move it around with the, you know, with a move tool. So the way for this, like retopology, will be like you're gonna select this and gonna extrude it, you know, and gonna control. But in this case, for me, preferably I have this on all the time because I'm gonna be doing this process quite a lot. To create a less dense topology, you know, I'm gonna have to do this a lot. So I just have it constantly on, and I know that it's projecting on top of the surface. You can just move all these vertices, and I'm not doing it, I'm not pressing Control because I know that when I move, it's exactly moving the vertices on the surface. There you go. All right. So like I said, I'm using face project, and I'm using project individual element, and I'm using active here. And if you're using the modifier shrink wrap, it's a little different in case you don't want to be worrying about snapping in any of this stuff. It's basically going to project whatever mesh on top of other mesh. But you have to, you know, you have to be a little more neat with that. And I'm going to show you later. Don't worry about it. I'm going to show you later what it is and how to use it. I'm going to make a tutorial about that. All right. So moving away from this, now you see that. Let me deactivate this real quick. Now you see the power of face project or vertex. So let's do a recap real quick. And what did we saw in this tutorial? So Let's say that you want to snap in the grid, you will go to increment, just to move this object in the grid. I'm gonna put it right there, duplicate it, press Control, and I'm gonna move it right there. And oops, gonna select this, move in the Z axis, press Control, and it's gonna snap in the grid. Even if you cannot see it, when you go to the front, there's a grid right there. So that's something interesting that you should know too. Like right now, if I move this object in the grid, you see that it still snaps and increments, right? But that is exactly one of these squares right here. Even though if you cannot see it, it's doing it. It's right here. You see that? 1 meter. Like that. Still the same, doing the same thing. So if you press G1, it's gonna move 1 unit to whatever, like GX1 is gonna be moving it exactly 1 meter. GY1. So that's another way for you to move stuff around. And but yeah, all right. So let's, like I said, you can move around in the grid. And if you go here to vertex, the same thing. Just like duplicate, Control and Z, and move it on the Z axis or move it up, and it's gonna snap right there. Remember, if you have active, it's basically active is the object is active. In this case, it's just the pivot point. So it's gonna follow the pivot point to snap it in that vertex right there. Or this cool edge center right here that is actually gonna snap it right in the center of the edge that you have the mouse over. So that's actually a pretty cool option for you to explore. Right, so I'm gonna stop right here, and I will recommend for you to just go one by one and do some tests, make some mistakes, try to fix it, and if you have any doubts or any questions, just please leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer, to make a tutorial for you. Right? Bye-bye. See ya.